Today's episode was brought to you by our fake sponsor with our game Overrated. Today's sponsor is Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. 4 out of 5 stars. Wear clothes you really don't care about. It gets messy. The random draw pairings of these are so funny. Welcome back, beautiful souls. This is episode 15 of Ritual Unchained, and today we're crossing the threshold into territory the church told you was forbidden. Speaking with the dead, working with guides, and connecting directly with the divine council. They call it necromancy. They said it was evil, satanic, and dangerous. They threatened you with damnation if you ever tried. But here's what they didn't tell you. Necromancy isn't evil. It's direct access to wisdom without needing priests, churches, or institutions as middlemen. And that's why they forbade it. The dead aren't silent. We just forgot how to listen. Today, I'm teaching you how to remember. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. The information I'm sharing comes from ancient wisdom traditions, modern science, personal experience, and spiritual gnosis. Some is verifiable through research, some only through direct experience. This is not medical advice, obviously. Work with healthcare providers for health concerns. I'm not your guru. I'm a guide sharing what I've learned. Your sovereignty is yours. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and test everything against your inner knowing. Topics today include spirit communication and blood magic. It's intense, so pause if needed. You're the authority of your life, always. All right, let's do this. Not as teacher and student, but as sovereign beings walking this path side by side. Let's start with the word itself, necromancy. It comes from the Greek word nekros, meaning dead, and manitia, meaning divination. Necromancy is simply the practice of communicating with the dead for knowledge, guidance, or wisdom. The Bible explicitly forbids it. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 says, "Let no one be found among you who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord." Of course, like we talked about last episode, this book was written during the suppression of the divine to control the populace. The church doubled down on this. Throughout history, anyone caught practicing necromancy could be tortured, burned alive, or executed. They made it one of the most forbidden practices. But why? If the dead are just dead, what's the threat? Here's some of the scriptures they use to scare you. Before we talk about why they forbade necromancy, let's address more of the scriptures they throw at you to make you terrified of this practice. If you were raised Christian, you've probably heard these verses as proof that speaking with the dead is satanic. As I mentioned, Deuteronomy 18:10-12, this is a big one that they always cite. But here's what they don't tell you. Context matters. Deuteronomy was written during the Babylonian exile in 6th century BCE, when the Israelite priests were trying to consolidate power and eliminate competition for other spiritual practices. As we covered in episode 14, this is when they suppressed the goddess. Asherah worship was everywhere before this. They rewrote Yahweh as the one true God and erased the divine council. And they banned all spiritual practices that didn't go through them. Divination, mediums, necromancy, and, quote, witchcraft. This verse lumps necromancy in with child sacrifice. Read it again. "Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium of spirits, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these is detestable to the Lord." They're intentionally conflating horrific practices like burning children alive with harmless practices like asking your deceased grandmother for guidance. This is a propaganda technique, making the thing you want to ban sound as evil as possible by listing it alongside actual horrific things. Consulting the dead is not the same as child sacrifice, but they put them in the same sentence so your brain associates them. Also notice this verse bans divination, sorcery, interpreting omens, witchcraft, spell casting, and mediumship. What do all these have in common? Direct access to spiritual knowledge without needing priests. This isn't about protecting you from evil. This is about eliminating competition. In Leviticus 19:31, it says, "Do not turn to mediums or seek out spirits, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Again, mediums and spirits, people who communicate with the dead, are forbidden. But why? The verse says you'll be defiled by them. Defiled means made unclean or corrupted. But here's the thing. In Levitical law, lots of things defiled you. Touching a dead body in Leviticus 21:1, menstruating, Leviticus 15:19, eating shellfish in Leviticus 11:10, wearing mixed fabrics in Leviticus 19:19. If you take Leviticus 19:31 seriously, you also have to never eat shrimp, never wear cotton polyester blend clothing, consider menstruating women unclean, and most Christians pick and choose which Levitical laws to follow. They ignore the shellfish and fabric rules, but insist the necromancy ban is still valid. Why? Because the church wants you to avoid necromancy. It threatens their control, but they don't care if you eat shrimp. That doesn't threaten them. You can't claim Leviticus 19:31 is absolute divine law while ignoring Leviticus 19:19. Either it's all binding or none of it is. In Leviticus 26, it says, I will set my face against anyone who turns to mediums and spiritists to prostitute themselves by following them, and I will cut them off from their people. Notice the language, prostitute themselves. This is loaded, shaming language designed to make you feel dirty for seeking spiritual guidance outside the priesthood. But let's break it down. Prostitute themselves, in this context, means being unfaithful to Yahweh. But remember, at the time this was written, the Israelites were also worshiping Asherah, Baal, El, and other deities from the divine council. The priests were trying to make Yahweh the only God. Anyone who still honored the goddess or consulted with spirits was seen as cheating on Yahweh. This isn't about spiritual safety. This is about religious monopoly. Cut them off from their people equals excommunication, exile, and social death. This is a threat. If you consult the dead, we will destroy your life. That's not divine protection. That's institutional control through fear. In Isaiah 8:19, it says, when someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should you not inquire of your God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? This one is interesting because it's phrased as a rhetorical question, like it's obvious you shouldn't consult the dead. But let's examine the actual argument. Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Because the dead have perspective, the living don't. The dead have crossed the threshold. They know what's on the other side. They are no longer bound by physical limitations. They see a broader picture. And they often have wisdom from lived experience. Your ancestors lived through things you haven't. And they can offer guidance from a non-physical vantage point. Why wouldn't you consult them? Also notice, should you not inquire of your God? This assumes you can't do both, consult God and your ancestors. Consulting the dead is instead of consulting God, with a false dichotomy. God and the dead are in opposition, which they're not. But here's the reality. Your ancestors, guides, and the divine aren't in competition. They're all part of the same interconnected spiritual reality. Consulting your deceased grandmother doesn't mean you're rejecting God. It means you're accessing wisdom from someone who loved you and still does. This verse is creating a false choice to keep you dependent on the priesthood as the only conduit to the divine. The Witch of Endor, the big proof necromancy works, here's where it gets really interesting. In 1 Samuel 28, King Saul is desperate for guidance before a battle. He's consulted prophets, dreams, and lots with nothing. So he goes to a medium, the Witch of Endor, and asks her to summon the prophet Samuel, who's dead. She does, and Samuel's spirit appears. He speaks to Saul, and he gives accurate prophecy about the upcoming battle. The story is used to prove necromancy is evil. But read it carefully. The necromancy worked. The medium successfully summoned Samuel's spirit. He appeared, he spoke, and he gave true prophecy. If necromancy was satanic or demonic, why would the real Samuel appear? Why wouldn't it be a demon pretending to be Samuel? This story confirms the dead can be summoned, they can communicate, and they can give accurate information. The narrative frames Saul's actions as wrong because he'd previously banned mediums under priestly pressure and was now hypocritically using one. But the practice itself clearly works. The Bible accidentally proves necromancy is real and effective. Why else would they ban it so aggressively if it didn't work? In 1 Chronicles 10, 13, and 14, it says, Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord and even consulted a medium for guidance and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David. This is the aftermath of the Witch of Endor story. It claims Saul died because he consulted a medium. But let's be honest, Saul died because he lost a battle. That's not a divine punishment for necromancy, that's war. The writers are interpreting his death as punishment to reinforce their anti-necromancy agenda. But notice Saul did not inquire of the Lord first. The problem wasn't the necromancy itself. It was that he went to the medium instead of the priesthood. Again, this is about institutional control. The priests are mad he bypassed them. In the New Testament, what did Jesus say about necromancy? Here's what's fascinating. Jesus never said a word about necromancy. Not once. He talked about love, forgiveness, compassion, hypocrisy of religious leaders, the kingdom of God being within you, helping the poor and the marginalized. He never said, don't talk to the dead. In fact, Jesus himself in Matthew 17, 1-3, talked to Moses and Elijah, both long dead at the time, at the Transfiguration. He also raised the dead, Lazarus, Jairus' daughter, proving consciousness continues and can return to the body. He appeared to his disciples after his death, proving the dead can communicate with the living. If necromancy was so evil, why did Jesus engage in it himself, talking to dead prophets? Why did he appear to his followers after death, making them mediums who communicated with the dead? The New Testament is silent on banning necromancy because Jesus didn't care about it. The church added that later. The hardline anti-necromancy stance you see in Christianity today didn't come from Jesus or even early Christians. It came from the church consolidating power in the 4th century CE and beyond. When Emperor Constantine made Christianity the state religion, the church became a political institution. They needed centralized authority with the pope, bishops, and priests, and exclusive access to the divine. You must go through us. They also eliminated the competition. They banned all other spiritual practices. So they took the Old Testament anti-necromancy verses, which were about priestly control in ancient Israel, and amplified them into absolute doctrine. They made necromancy not just forbidden, but satanic. Why? Because by the Middle Ages, they'd consolidated enough power that anyone threatening it, healers, midwives, mediums, wise women, could be labeled a witch and burned alive. Necromancy became proof of witchcraft. Witchcraft became punishable by death. This wasn't about protecting souls. This was about protecting their power. If your pastor, priest, or family member throws the verses at you, ask them, do you also refuse to eat shrimp and wear polyester? Because those are banned in the same book. Why do you pick and choose which Levitical laws to follow? If necromancy is demonic, why did the real Samuel appear to Saul? Why didn't a demon show up instead? If talking to the dead is evil, why did Jesus talk to Moses and Elijah? Why did he appear to his disciples after death, making them mediums? Watch them scramble. The scriptural case against necromancy falls apart under scrutiny. Now let's talk about the real reasons they forbade it. Here's what they didn't want you to know. Necromancy bypasses institutional control, like I said. When you could speak directly with your deceased loved ones, your ancestors, or wise spirits, you don't need priests to intercede for you, churches to grant you access to the divine, rituals performed by authorized clergy, and confessions, indulgences, or institutional approval. You have direct access, no middleman required. The church's entire power structure depends on being the gatekeeper between you and the spiritual realm. If you can just talk to the dead yourself, you don't need them. That's a threat to their authority, their income, and their control over your spiritual life. Necromancy also proves consciousness continues. If you can communicate with the dead, that means consciousness survives physical death. Your loved ones still exist, just in different form. And death isn't the end the church claims it is. But the church needs you to fear death. They need you to believe only they can save your soul. Only they know where you'll go after death. Only through them can you avoid eternal damnation. If you discover through direct experience that your grandmother is still around, still loving you, still accessible, you realize death isn't this terrifying void that the church uses to control you. You lose your fear, and when you lose your fear, they lose their power. The dead also tell the truth. Here's the big one. When you talk to the dead, your ancestors, guides, or wise spirits, they tell you things the church doesn't want you to know. They tell you the goddess was suppressed. Your ancestors remember her worship. The divine council was real. They worked with multiple deities. Reincarnation happens. They've been here before, and they'll be here again. You don't need salvation. You're already divine. The dead aren't bound by institutional propaganda. They're not afraid of being excommunicated. They can tell you the truth. And the truth is, everything the church taught you, most of it was a lie designed to control you. Necromancy gives you access to witness who remembered what was suppressed. That's dangerous to the people who did the suppressing. So they made it evil. Talking to your deceased loved ones, asking your ancestors for guidance, or working with spirit guides, that's not evil. That's communion. That's remembering you're part of something bigger than this one lifetime. The church forbade necromancy to keep you dependent, afraid, and controllable. Today, we're reclaiming it. Now, before we dive into how to communicate with the other side, we need to talk about discernment. Because here's the truth. Not everything that speaks to you from the spirit realm has your best interest at heart. Just because something is dead or non-physical or claims to be a guide doesn't automatically make it trustworthy. Think about it. In the physical world, not every person you meet is safe, honest, or well-intentioned. Why would the spiritual realm be any different? There are beautiful, loving, wise beings on the other side, but there are also parasitic entities, tricksters, and things that will lie to you, feed on you, or lead you astray. So how do you know the difference? There's 3 categories of beings you might encounter. Category 1 is ancestors and deceased loved ones. These are people who were once human. Your grandmother, grandfather, great-grandparents, deceased parents, siblings, friends, or ancestors from your bloodline going back generations. They're generally safe to work with if they are loving and supportive in life. Death doesn't change someone's character. You feel warmth, love, or peaceful presence when they're near. Their guidance feels protective, not controlling. Be cautious if they were abusive or toxic in life. Death doesn't heal that. They might still carry those patterns. They feel heavy, draining, or demanding, or their guidance creates fear or dependency. Just because someone is your ancestor doesn't mean they're automatically wise or healed. Use discernment. Category 2 is guides and divine council members. These are non-human spiritual beings, archangels like Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Metatron, etc. Deities like Sophia, Ashera, Athena, Thoth, Hecate, etc., or ascended masters, beings who've transcended the cycle. There's nature spirits, elementals, star beings. They're generally safe to work with if they feel high frequency, light, expansive, and loving, and their guidance empowers you. It doesn't create dependency, and they respect your free will. They never force or manipulate. Their presence feels ancient, wise, and steady. Be cautious if they demand worship or submission. True guides do not do this. They create fear or threaten you. Loved-based beings don't use fear, or they ask for things that violate your boundaries, or something feels off, even if you can't name why. Category 3 is parasitic and trickster entities. These are low-frequency beings that feed on human energy. Parasitic entities feed on fear, pain, suffering, and sexual energy. Tricksters pretend to be guides or loved ones, but lie and manipulate. Archons are corrupted beings serving the demiurge system, though remember, they're trapped too, and some can be freed. The red flags are never work with beings who demand blood, harm, or sacrifice of others. Consensual offerings of your blood are a different story. We'll cover that later. If they tell you to hurt yourself or others, if they create obsessive dependency, you can only trust me, no one else. Or flatten your ego excessively. You're so special, you're the chosen one, you're better than everyone. Or if they isolate you from other people, don't tell anybody about me. Or they feel cold, heavy, draining, or make you feel worse after their contact. If any of these are present, banish them immediately. I'll teach you how later. These are some practical ways to discern what you're dealing with. Test 1, the frequency check. Ask yourself, how do I feel in this being's presence? Trust your body. It knows. Test 2, the fruit check. Jesus said, by their fruits you will know them. This applies to spirits too. Ask, what is the result of following this being's guidance? If the guidance consistently produces good fruit, like freedom, healing, and love, it's likely aligned. But if it produces poison, fear, harm, and control, it's parasitic. Test 3 is the command test. This is direct. When in doubt, command the being to identify itself. Say out loud with authority, I command you in the name of Source, the Divine, the Most High. State your true name and intention. If you are not aligned with love and truth, you have no permission to be in my space. Leave now. Aligned beings will respect your authority, respect your sovereignty. Answer honestly or simply remain present peacefully. Not be offended by your boundaries. Parasitic beings will get angry or aggressive when challenged, refuse to answer or lie, or try to make you feel guilty for questioning them, or leave when commanded because they have no real power over a sovereign being. Use this test liberally. Real guides want you to discern. They're not offended by your caution, they respect it. Test 4 is the body knowing. Your body is your most reliable discernment tool. When you think about connecting with the being, aligned, your body relaxes, opens, feels warm or neutral. If it's parasitic, your body tenses, it contracts, or feels cold or wrong. There's also subtle body cues. Your stomach drops, that's a warning. Your hair stands up in an off way, not excited way. That's a warning. Your chest tightens. That's a warning. Your heart opens and your body softens. That's safe. Your body knows before your mind does. Listen to it. And a note on fear. Some people say if you're afraid, it's not aligned. That's not always true. You might feel fear when encountering something truly powerful. Awe, reverence. That's different from a threat. Or you're facing your own shadow. The fear is of yourself, not the guide. Or being challenged to grow. Growth is scary, but the guide is still aligned. The question isn't, am I afraid, but what kind of fear is this? Sacred awe, trembling before something vast and holy, is often aligned. Threat, dread, this will harm me is a red flag. Learn the difference. The bottom line is not everything on the other side is friendly. Discernment isn't optional, it's essential. But don't let that scare you away from this work. Most beings you'll encounter, especially if you're calling with clear intention and protection, will be aligned. Just stay awake, question everything, trust your body, and remember, you are sovereign. No entity has power over you unless you give it. Now let's talk about the most common reason people want to practice necromancy, connecting with deceased loved ones. Your grandmother who passed, your best friend who died too young, your parent, sibling, child, whoever you've lost and still long to speak with. The church told you this was forbidden, that you'd open yourself to demons, that the dead are sleeping or gone and can't be reached. But that's a lie. The dead aren't gone, they've just changed form. And yes, you can still talk to them. Here's how. First, understand where they are. When someone dies, their consciousness doesn't just vanish, it transitions. Think of it like this. Their physical body stops. The meat suit wears out. But their consciousness, their soul, their essence, their you-ness continues. They're no longer bound by physical limitations like time, space, and solid matter. They exist in what we might call the spirit realm or the other side. They're not up in heaven waiting for judgment day. They're not asleep in the grave. They're aware, present, and often still very connected to the people they loved in life. Your grandmother didn't forget about you just because she died. She's still your grandmother. She still loves you, and she can hear you when you call. Second, set sacred space. Before you attempt to communicate, create a sacred container. Why? Because you're opening yourself energetically. You're thinning the veil between you and the spirit realm. You want to make sure you're calling only who you intend to call, not just anything that wants to chat. Here's how to set sacred space. First, cleanse the area with sage, palo santo, or incense. Burn and waft smoke through the space. Or sound, clapping, bells, singing bowls. It breaks up stagnant energy. And intention, speak aloud. This space is cleansed and sacred. 2, seal your biofield. Visualize white or gold light surrounding your entire body. Speak, I am sealed. Only aligned beings with love and my highest good may enter this space. All else is commanded to leave. Feel the boundary solidify like an energetic shield. 3, call in protection. Invoke protective guides. I call upon Archangel Michael, my guardian guides, and all beings of light who protect me. Stand with me now. You can also call upon your own higher self, source, or whatever divine presence you trust. Feel them arrive. You might sense a shift in the room, a warmth, a presence. 4, state your intention. Be clear and specific. I wish to communicate with that person's name. I call only to them with love and respect. Clarity matters. Vague invitations can attract tricksters. Now you're ready. Now we're going to cover methods of communication. There are several ways to communicate with the dead. Use what feels natural to you. Method 1 is direct speaking and listening. This is the simplest approach. Speak. Talk to them out loud or silently in your mind, but out loud is stronger. Tell them what you want to say. Grandma, I miss you. I need your guidance on this situation. Can you help me? Be sincere. They can feel your energy. Pretense doesn't work. Listen. After you speak, pause and listen. Pay attention to thoughts that drop into your mind, not your usual thinking, but sudden knowing. Pay attention to feelings of warmth, peace, and sudden emotion. Physical sensations like tingling, pressure, or temperature change. Images or memories that may arise. They might show you something. Don't strain to hear, relax, and receive. Most people expect their deceased loved ones to sound like they did in life. Maybe you'll hear their voice, but more often it comes as a knowing, like you just know what they'd say, or a feeling, love washes over you and reassurance, or a sense of presence. They're here even if not speaking in words. Trust what comes. Don't dismiss it as just your imagination. Method 2 is automatic writing. This is channeling through your hand. You get a piece of paper and a pen, or a keyboard if you prefer. Enter a light meditative state, relaxed, open, and not overthinking. Call to your loved one. I invite blah, blah, blah to speak through my writing. The process is you put the pen to the paper and ask a question. Then you let your hand move without consciously controlling it. Write whatever comes. Don't edit, don't judge, just let it flow. It might feel like your thoughts at first, but keep going. Often the voice will shift. You'll notice it's not quite how you would phrase things. When finished, read what came through. Does it sound like them? Does it carry their energy? Use discernment, those frequency check and fruit checks. Automatic writing is powerful because it bypasses your conscious mind. Your analytical brain gets out of the way and the message comes through more clearly. Method 3 is dream visitation. The dead often visit us in dreams because the veil is thinnest when we sleep. This is how to invite dream visitation. Before bed, set the intention. Tonight I invite blah 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 to visit me in my dreams. I am open to receive their message. Place a photo of them by your bed or under your pillow. Also, optionally, you can light a candle for them and blow it out before sleep for safety. During the dream, if they appear, pay attention. Ask them questions. Yes, you can talk in your dreams. Notice what they show you, tell you, or make you feel. Upon awakening, immediately write down the dream. It fades fast. Analyze, was this really them or just your subconscious processing grief? This is how to tell the difference. Real dream visitations feel more real than normal dreams. They're vivid, clear, and memorable. The deceased appears healthy, whole, and peaceful, not sick or suffering as they were at death. They convey a message or feeling like comfort, guidance, and love. You wake feeling visited, not just like you dreamed about them. There's also grief dreams. They feel like normal dream logic, but they're fuzzy, confusing, and symbolic. It might show them as they were when they were dying, sick and in pain. Often you're processing your emotions, your fear, your guilt, your longing, and you wake feeling sad or unresolved. Real visitations leave you feeling loved, even if you're crying. Grief dreams leave you feeling empty. And here's a note on the grief dreams. Let me be clear. Grief dreams are okay. They're not less than real visitations. They're just different, and they serve a different purpose. Grief dreams are your subconscious processing the loss itself, your brain and heart trying to integrate that they're gone. Unfinished business, things you wish you'd said, guilt, regret, and unresolved conflict. Your own emotions like fear, anger, and sadness and longing. This is healthy and necessary. Your psyche needs to process grief. Dreams are one of the way it does that. So if you dream about your deceased loved one and it feels like a normal dream, fuzzy, emotional, maybe showing them as they were when sick, replaying memories, or working through what-if scenarios, that's not failure. That's your mind and heart healing. Don't dismiss grief dreams as just my imagination. They're not real contact. They're real in a different way. They're real processing. That matters. The distinction I'm making is real visitation dreams equal them reaching out to you, spirit communication. Grief dreams is you processing them, psychologically and emotionally healing. Both are valid, both are important, both can happen. In fact, in the early stages of grief, you'll probably have more grief dreams than visitation dreams. That's normal. Your psyche needs to process the loss before you can clearly receive spirit communication. Give yourself permission for both. And if you're not sure which type of dream you had, that's okay too. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes a grief dream can become a real visitation partway through. The lines aren't always clean. Trust your feeling when you wake up. Grief dream, I'm processing my pain. Visitation dream, they were here. Both are gifts, both are real, both are okay. Method 4 is signs and synchronicities. The dead communicate through the physical world too. Common signs are specific songs playing at a meaningful moment, especially their song, or animals appearing repeatedly, especially unusual ones like cardinals, butterflies, or specific birds. Objects moving or showing up in odd places, especially their belongings. Electronics acting strange, lights flickering, devices turning on and off, phone calls with no one there. Smells, their perfumes, cigarettes if they smoked, flowers, specific scents associated with them, or finding coins, feathers, or other small objects in meaningful places. How to know it's really them? Ask for confirmation. The first time something odd happens, think, if that's really you, and whoever their name is, show me again in the next 24 hours. If it happens again, the same sign or related, that's confirmation. Once or twice could be coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. Multiple patterns equals they're definitely reaching out. Respond. When you notice a sign, acknowledge it out loud. I see you, Grandma. Thank you for letting me know you're here. This strengthens the connection. They know you're paying attention. Don't dismiss the synchronicities as just coincidence. The dead work with what they have, and often that's subtle signs in the physical world. 4th is what to ask and what to expect. You can ask your deceased loved ones for guidance on current situations. What should I do about this? Or for comfort. I miss you. Can I feel your presence? Or for forgiveness or closure for unfinished business from when they were alive, or for protection. Watch over me and my family. Or you could ask about their experience. Are you okay? Are you at peace? You cannot ask them to come back to life. They've moved on. Or to control living people. They don't have that power, and ethical ones wouldn't try. Or for lottery numbers or trivial predictions. They're not psychic hotlines. Here's what you can expect. They will offer comfort, love, and reassurance. That's usually their main message. I'm okay, I love you, I'm still here. Or they can give guidance from their perspective, which is broader now. They can see things you can't. Or let you know they're watching over you. They might not give you specific instructions. Do this, not that. They respect your free will, or show up every time you call. They have their own existence, journey, whatever the dead do, they're not all at your beck and call. And they might not tell you everything you want to know. Some things are meant for you to figure out for yourself. Be patient. Building communication with the dead is like building any relationship. It takes time, practice, and trust. The 5th is boundaries and release. This is important. Just because someone is dead doesn't mean you owe them unlimited access to your life. Healthy boundaries with deceased loved ones include you can say no to contact if it's draining or unhelpful. You can ask them to step back if their presence is too intense. You can release them if you need to move forward. This is how you release. If a deceased loved one is lingering in a way that's not helpful, it's an obsessive presence making you unable to grieve and move on and feeling heavy or stuck, say their name. I love you. I honor you, but it's time for you to continue your journey and for me to go continue mine. I release you with love. Go in peace. Then visualize them moving into light, being held by their own guides, free to continue. This isn't cruel. Sometimes the dead linger because they think we need them or because they're attached to us. Releasing them with love is a gift to you and to them. You can still communicate with them later if you want. Releasing them doesn't mean cutting off forever. It just means a healthy separation so both of you can grow. 6th is a word on grief. Communicating with deceased loved ones doesn't bypass grief, and it shouldn't. Grief is love with nowhere to go. It's natural, healthy, and necessary. Even if you can talk to your grandmother's spirit, you're still allowed to grieve. The loss of her physical presence. There's no more hugs, no more hearing her laugh in person. The end of a chapter of your life. The reality that things are different now. Necromancy isn't about avoiding grief. It's about staying connected through grief. You can talk to her spirit and cry about missing her physical form. Both are true. Both are okay. The dead aren't silent. They're just speaking in a language we forgot. Relearning that language through direct speaking, automatic writings, dreams, or signs is one of the most beautiful acts of love you can do. Your deceased loved ones want to connect with you. They're not gone, they're just different now. Welcome to Necromancy Reclaimed. Now that we've covered communicating with deceased loved ones, let's expand outward, working with spirit guides and members of the Divine Council. These are non-human spiritual beings, angels, archangels, deities, ascended masters, nature spirits, and other entities who exist to guide, teach, and support humanity. Yes, they're real. Yes, you can work with them. And no, you don't need a priest's permission. Who are spiritual guides? Spiritual guides are beings assigned to help you navigate your life path. They can include guardian angels, beings specifically assigned to protect and guide you, often from birth or even before, and they feel like a constant loving presence watching over you. There's also ancestral guides, wise ancestors from your bloodline who've chosen to guide descendants. Not necessarily people you knew in life, but it could be from generations back. They also carry your family's wisdom and protection. There's also ascended masters, beings who've lived as humans and transcended the cycle and now teach from the other side. Examples include Buddha, Kuan Yin, Mary Magdalene, and certain saints. They've been there, so they understand the human struggle. There's also elemental and nature spirits, beings connected to earth, water, fire, air, plants, and animals. The examples are the dryads, the tree spirits, undines, the water spirits, and salamanders, the fire spirits. As always, thank you for bearing with me on my pronunciations. These work with natural forces and can teach you about cycles, grounding, and earth connection. There's also star beings and cosmic guides. These are non-human intelligences from other dimensions or star systems. They often work with star seeds, souls who have incarnated from other places, and they bring galactic cosmic perspective. There's also power animals or totems, animal spirits who guide and protect. They carry specific medicine, wisdom, energy of that animal. They're common in shamanic traditions worldwide. Most people have multiple guides. They come and go throughout your life based on what you're learning or going through. You might have one guide for your whole life and others who show up for specific chapters, a healing crisis, a creative project, a spiritual awakening. There's also the Divine Council. Beyond personal guides, there's the pantheon of deities who work with humanity. As we covered in episode 14, the Bible originally acknowledged multiple divine beings. Elohim, plural. There's gods. The Divine Council in Psalms 82. Asherah, El, Baal, and other deities. These weren't false gods. They were and are real spiritual beings with specific roles, domains, and wisdom. These are some examples of the Divine Council members you can work with. From ancient Near Eastern traditions, there's Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. This is the divine feminine, wisdom herself, that they talk about in the Gnostic traditions. She teaches gnosis, direct knowing, sovereignty, and sacred feminine power. There's also Asherah, the mother goddess. She's related to the tree of life, fertility, nurturing, and protection. She teaches grounding, mothering, and connection to nature. El is the father, the head of the Divine Council. He's an ancient supreme deity, older than Yahweh in the myths. He's wise, compassionate, elder energy. He teaches patience, discernment, and big picture perspective. From the Abrahamic tradition, there's the Archangel Michael. He cuts cords, banishes entities, defends against attacks, and teaches boundaries, courage, and spiritual warfare. There's the Archangel Raphael. He works with physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. He teaches restoration, wholeness, and journey through darkness. There's the Archangel Gabriel, who's about communication, creativity, and birth of ideas, projects, and children. He teaches clarity, expression, and divine timing. There's the Archangel Metatron, which is involved with sacred geometry, records, and transformation. He was human, Enoch, and then he ascended. He teaches alchemy, ascension, and working with light codes. There's also some from other traditions. Athena is Greek, teaches sovereignty, intelligence, and creative problem solving. Thoth, Egyptian, is the keeper of Akashic records. It teaches sacred knowledge, manifestation, and cosmic law. There's Hecate, which is Greek, which guides souls between worlds, teaches shadow work, psychopomp abilities, and threshold walking. There's Kuan Yin from the Buddhist traditions, which is a bodhisattva energy. It saves all beings from suffering, teaches unconditional love, service, and listening. And there's Brigid from the Celtic traditions, a triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone, teaches creativity, transformation, and sacred flame. And there's many, many more. You don't have to work with all of them. You'll be drawn to specific beings based on your path, your lineage, and what you need to learn. The process to connect with them is similar to connecting with deceased loved ones, but with some differences. Step 1, you set your sacred space, which is the exact same as before. Step 2 is you invite specific guide or divine being. Be specific. I call upon XYZ with respect and love. I ask for your presence, your guidance, and your wisdom. Please make yourself known to me. If you don't know who to call, you can say, I call upon my highest, most aligned spirit guides. Whoever's meant to work with me at this time, please step forward. Then pay attention to who or what shows up. Step 3, recognize their presence. You might experience a visual, see them with your physical eyes if you're clairvoyant, or in your mind's eye. You might hear their voice, words, or sounds. You may feel or sense their energy by warmth, tingling, or a presence in the room, or knowing. You just know they're there. They may show you images, symbols, or visions that carry meaning. Each being has a signature energy. Over time, you'll recognize them instantly, like knowing someone's walking into a room before you even turn around. Step 4, communicate. Ask questions. What do I need to know right now? How can I solve this problem, heal this wound, or move forward? What is my next step? Listen for your answers, just like you did before, and create a dialogue. This isn't a one-way. You can have conversations. Ask follow-up questions. Ask for clarity. Express gratitude. Treat them with respect. They're not servants. They're allies. Step 5 is verify and discern, as always. Just because something claims to be Archangel Michael doesn't mean it is. Use the discernment tests that we spoke about before. Frequency check, fruit check, command test, and body knowing. If something feels wrong, command it to leave and call in protection again. Step 6 is thank and close. When you're done, thank that guide's name for their presence and guidance. I honor you. I release you to continue your work. Go with my gratitude and love. Then ground yourself. Eat, drink water, touch the earth, close your energetic field, visualize sealing the opening you created, journal what came through. It fades fast if you don't write it down. This creates clean energetic boundaries. You're open to receive, now you close so you're not energetically leaking or staying too open. Work with guides isn't a one-time thing. It's a relationship. Like any relationship, consistency matters. Regular check-ins, not just when you're desperate. Trust builds over time. The more you work together, the clearer the communication becomes. Reciprocity is important. We'll cover that soon. Boundaries are also healthy. You can say no, ask them to step back, or release them if needed. These are some other ways you can build a relationship with your guides. You can create an altar, do your daily check-ins. You can work with them in specific areas. You can give offerings. They can be physical, like flowers, food, wine, or energetic with gratitude, service, creative work dedicated to them. Reciprocity honors the relationship. Like we spoke about before, you can work with multiple guides. Absolutely. You're not betraying one by calling on another. Think of it like having different friends for different things. One friend you call for emotional support, another for practical advice, another for creative collaboration. Same with guides. Raphael for healing, Athena for strategy, and Hecate for shadow work. They don't compete. They collaborate. The divine council isn't jealous. They're not petty. They want you to access the wisdom you need, even if it's from someone else. So what if you're drawn to a guide from a different tradition? Example, you were raised Christian, but you feel called to work with Athena or Kuan Yin. Is that okay? Yes. Here's why. The divine council doesn't care about human religious labels. Athena doesn't check if you're officially Greek. Kuan Yin doesn't require you to be a Buddhist. They respond to sincere, respectful intentions. You might have past life connections as well. Maybe you were a priestess of Athena in a past life. Maybe you practice Buddhism in another incarnation. Soul memory draws you to familiar beings. You also might have ancestral lineage. Even if you don't know your full ancestry, DNA testing or family research might reveal some connections. Your bloodline might have honored these deities, an ancestral memory calling you home. They might have a specific teaching for you. Not everyone needs the same guide. Certain beings have certain wisdom. If you're drawn to one, there's a reason. The only rules are approach with respect. Learn about them, understand their domain, honor their tradition. Don't appropriate. Working with a deity versus claiming a closed cultural practice, know the difference. Listen to your body and knowing. If it feels right, it probably is. If it feels forced, it's not. Trust your soul's knowing. You're drawn to who you're meant to work with. Here's a warning, though, about worship. Working with the Divine Council members is not the same as worship. You don't need to bow down or grovel, give up your sovereignty, or become less than in their presence. True divine beings don't want worship. They want respectful collaboration, reciprocal relationship, and your growth and empowerment. If a being demands worship, submission, or groveling, that is a red flag. That's ego, theirs or a trickster pretending, not divinity. The Divine Council serves humanity and the greater cosmic order. They're here to help, not to dominate. You are sovereign, they are allies. Approach as equals, different roles, but equal value. Spirit guides and Divine Council members are real, accessible, and eager to work with you. You don't need special training or initiations. It's helpful, but it's not required. You just need clear intention, respectful approach, discernment, and an open heart. The Divine Council were never gone. They were just hidden from you. Welcome them back into your life. Now, I want to talk about one specific member of the Divine Council who's been showing up a lot in my own work and in the collective consciousness right now, Archangel Metatron. If you've been feeling drawn to sacred geometry, light codes, transformation, or the idea of getting a Metatron's cube tattoo, this is why. Metatron is unique among the archangels because he was human first. According to the book of Enoch, one of the texts that didn't make it into the Bible, Metatron was originally Enoch, a man who walked with God and was transformed into an archangel rather than dying. In Genesis 5:24, it says, Enoch walked faithfully with God, and then he was more, because God took him away. He didn't die, he ascended. He became Metatron. This makes him the only archangel who's lived as a human. He understands the struggle, and he's a bridge between human and divine. He's been both. He's the angel of transformation and ascension. He literally transformed from human to angelic. These are his roles and domains. He's the scribe, the keeper of records. He is said to record everything that happens in the universe, every thought, action, choice, and lifetime. He keeps the Akashic records, the cosmic library of all that has been, is, and will be. This means he has access to all knowledge. He can show you past lives, soul contracts, and karmic patterns. He's the one to call when you need information, truth, clarity, and understanding. If you're seeking gnosis, direct knowing, Metatron can help you access it. He's also associated with sacred geometry, particularly Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is a geometric pattern that contains all 5 platonic solids, the building blocks of creation, the flower of life, the tree of life, the blueprint of the universe itself. This structure isn't just pretty symbolism. It's the structure of reality. Everything in the physical world is built on geometric patterns. Metatron works with these patterns, the codes underlying creation. This means he can help you understand how reality works, the mechanics of manifestation, frequency, and creation. He could show you the divine order beneath apparent chaos. He can help you reprogram reality by working with codes, geometry, and frequency. If you're drawn to sacred geometry, fractals, mathematics, or the code of the universe, that's Metatron's domain. Because Metatron ascended from human to angelic, he specializes in transformation, spiritual awakening, kundalini activation, ascension, cellular reprogramming. If you're going through the dark night of the soul, kundalini awakening, rapid spiritual growth, physical symptoms of ascension like fatigue, body changes, and sensitivity increases, call on Metatron. He's been through the human to divine transformation. He knows the way. He also works with the children in the indigo star seeds. Metatron is said to work closely with children, especially spiritually sensitive or different children. This includes indigo, crystal, or rainbow children, soul groups incarnating to shift consciousness, star seeds, souls from other star systems incarnating on Earth, children with psychic abilities, ADHD, autism, or other neurodivergencies that are actually gifts. If you have children who are sensitive, see things, struggle in the 3D world because they're wired for higher dimensions, Metatron can help them and you understand and navigate their gifts. He's also good at clearing and cutting cords. Metatron works with what's called the Metatron's cube or Metatron's sword, an energetic tool for cutting etheric cords, energetic energetic attachments to people, places, and timelines, clearing entities or parasitic attachments, severing karmic patterns, breaking cycles that no longer serve. If you need to cut ties with toxic relationships, ancestral patterns, past life karmas, or parasitic entities, Metatron can help wield the energetic blade that severs cleanly. Let's talk some more specifically about Metatron's cube because it's a powerful symbol. It's a geometric pattern formed by connecting the center of 13 circles. It contains all the platonic solids, like I talked about, the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodecatron, and the icosahedron. These solids represent the 5 elements: fire, earth, spirit, ether, and water. It's the blueprint of creation, the geometric code underlying all physical reality. It's powerful because wearing, drawing, meditating on it connects you to the structure of reality. It's a protection symbol. The geometry creates an energetic shield. It's a manifestation tool working with the code of creation. It activates higher consciousness. Your brain, energy field, responds to sacred geometry. If you're drawn to get Metatron's cube as a tattoo, here's why. It's not just aesthetic, it's functional. It's permanent sacred geometry on your body. It acts as a constant energetic protection. It reminds you and your energy field of the divine order and blueprint. It signals to Metatron, I am working with you. I honor your domain. You can place it on your chest or heart to protect your heart chakra and emotional body. On your back between your shoulder blades for protection of your back, your vulnerable spot. The wing symbolism. On your forearm, a visible reminder working with your hands, creating and manifesting. Wherever it feels right to you, your body knows. Just make sure the geometry is accurate. Proportions matter. Sloppy geometry equals sloppy energy. Make sure it's done with intention, not just a cool tattoo, but a sacred seal. You cleanse and charge it after it's healed. Claim it as a protective symbol. Here's how you can call him in. Archangel Metatron, Scribe of the Divine, Keeper of Sacred Geometry, Angel of Transformation, I call upon you with respect and love. I ask for your presence, your guidance, and your wisdom. Please work with me now. Then state what you need. Show me the truth of this situation. Help me understand this pattern or code. Guide me through this transformation. Cut the cords that no longer serve. Help me reprogram these things, blah, blah, blah. You might experience the visual like we were talking about, or physical things, or mental things, even emotional, like you feel like you're being held by vast intelligence, a sense of order and purpose. His energy is precise. It's powerful, not harsh, but it's strong. It's transformative. You might feel shifts happening in real time. Metatron isn't a one conversation guide for most people. If he shows up in your life, it's usually deep, long-term work. Build your relationship by studying, learning about sacred geometry, studying the Akashic records. Read the Book of Enoch. Meditate with Metatron's cube if you feel drawn to that. Ask Metatron to show you what the geometry means. Ask for downloads before sleep, upon awakening. Trust the information even if it doesn't make logical sense at first. Work with frequency and light. Listen to high frequency music, solfeggio frequency, binaural beats, crystal bowls. Visualize light moving through your body, reprogramming your cells. Ask Metatron to upgrade your frequency. As offerings, Metatron appreciates sacred geometry artwork, written knowledge and wisdom, journal entries and teachings, lights, candles in sacred space, or meditation and prayer. In reciprocity, teach what you learned. Share the gnosis. That honors his role as a scribe. If you're working with Metatron, you might experience what's called ascension symptoms, physical and energetic shifts as your frequency raises. Common symptoms include fatigue. Your body's upgrading. It needs more rest. Headaches with your third eye and crown activation. Ringing in your ears as your frequency adjusts. Digestive issues, which is your solar plexus clearing, your power reclamation, or sleep disruptions, where you're downloading information and processing shifts. Emotional purging, like crying and stuff. These are old patterns releasing. You might have increased sensitivities to food, energy, people, and environments. It's not illness, it's transformation. Your body is literally changing at a cellular level to hold higher frequency. He can help ease this process. You can ask him, Metatron, please help my body integrate these upgrades gently. Show me what I need, rest, water, specific foods, grounding to support this transformation. Like I said, Metatron's energy is powerful. If you're new to working with guides, he might feel overwhelming. Too much, too fast, energy downloads that leave you feeling exhausted, or transformation happening faster than you can integrate. If this happens, just set your boundaries. Metatron, please slow down. I need to integrate at my pace my body can handle. They respect your boundaries. Ground between your sessions. Don't do high-frequency spiritual work 24/7. It will wear you out. And then call in gentler guides too. Work with Raphael for healing and others alongside him to help. They can soften the intensity while still supporting transformation. Metatron is like spiritual boot camp. Powerful, effective, but intense. Respect that. Pace yourself. Metatron's energy is surging in the collective consciousness right now because there's a mass awakening. He's here to help humanity level up. He has access to records, so people are waking up to the truth, the demiurge, suppressed history, and who we really are. He's opening the Akashic library to those ready to know. And of course, the sacred geometry is returning, and children are incarnating. Like I said, Metatron works with this specific kids. Parents and teachers need his guidance to help with these children. So if you're feeling drawn to Metatron right now, it's not random. The collective is calling him in. Metatron is the angel of knowing. He holds the records. He understands the codes. He guides transformation. Now that we've covered how to communicate with the dead, work with guides, and connect with the divine council, we need to talk about protection. Because here's the reality. When you open yourself up to the spiritual realm, you're thinning the veil between you and the other side. And while most beings you'll encounter are aligned and helpful, not everything that can reach through that opening has your best interest at heart. Protection isn't optional, it's essential. Think of it like this. You wouldn't leave your front door wide open in a questionable neighborhood and just hope no one wanders in. Same with your energetic field. Here's how to protect yourself while doing spiritual work. So before any spirit work, visualize the white or gold light surrounding your entire body. Speak your sovereignty. I am sovereign, I am sealed, my biofield is my own, nothing may enter without my explicit permission. I command all parasitic, manipulative, or misaligned beings to leave now and never return. Only beings aligned with love, truth, and my highest good may approach. So it is. And feel the seal solidify. It takes 30 seconds. Do it every time before spiritual work. No exceptions. You can also call in the other guides we've spoke about and then feel them arrive. You can also cast a physical circle with salts to pour a circle around where you're sitting, or use crystals like black tourmaline, obsidian, or smoky quartz at cardinal directions, or use candles. Or you could even just do an energetic circle. You can visualize these things, walk the perimeter physically or in your mind, sealing it. Declare, the circle is cast, only love and light may enter, all else is repelled. The circle creates a container, a safe space where you control what enters. You also need to stay grounded and anchored. Stay connected to earth while doing spiritual work. Spiritual work takes you up, higher frequencies, astral, and spiritual realms. If you're not anchored, you can get lost, spaced out, or vulnerable. Grounding keeps you in your body while doing your work. Stay anchored in the physical while you reach into the spiritual, both at once, balanced and protected. You could also use some of those sacred geometry symbols we talked about, the pentacle, a cross, the eye of Horus, Metatron's cube, a hamsa. Wear, draw, or place these in your space during spiritual work. These are all supports, not replacements for your own sovereign power. You are the primary protection, your sealed field, your command. All these other tools, they amplify and support that. Like I said, use clear intentions and boundaries. You can also state time limits. I open this space for 30 minutes, an hour, this session. When I close, all beings must depart. This prevents entities from lingering or assuming they have permanent access. This is how you stay protected while you're doing your work. While you're actively communicating, check in with your body. Does this feel safe still? Is my energy draining or holding steady? Do I feel good or off? If something shifts, you feel drained, scared, or heavy or wrong, immediately stop, command, reseal, call your protection, and ground. Don't tough it out if something feels wrong. Stop, clear, and protect. So now we're going to cover the blood magic and offerings. If you're using blood in your spirit work, extra protection is critical. Blood is life force itself. It's your most powerful offering. It's direct DNA and lineage connection. It's magnetic to spiritual beings. They're drawn to it. When working with blood, always seal your biofield first, before even pricking your finger. State who the blood is for. This blood is offered to whoever it is, and no other may access it. Command protection. Archangel Michael, guard this offering. Only so-and-so may receive it. Dispose of it properly. Burn, bury, or cleanse with salt. Don't just throw it in the trash where energy lingers. Blood magic is powerful. It's also serious. Even with protection, sometimes some things slip through, especially if you're new or learning. If this happens, do the banishment that I talked about. You might have to repeat a couple times. Most things will leave after 1 to 3 repetitions. If it persists beyond a week, seek help from an experienced practitioner. Protection isn't about fear, it's about sovereignty. You're not protecting yourself because spirit work is inherently dangerous. It's not. You're protecting yourself because you have boundaries, you're sovereign, and you're intentional. Good spirits respect boundaries. They're not offended when you protect yourself. They expect it. Only parasitic things are bothered by your boundaries. So protect fiercely, work confidently, and trust your sovereign power. So the church made absolutely sure you'd be terrified of offerings to spirits and working with blood. They call it satanic, demonic, and evil. But here's the truth. Sacred offerings include blood offerings. They're ancient, powerful, and not inherently evil. They're about reciprocity, about honoring relationship, about working with the most potent substance in existence, your own life force. In the physical world, relationships require give and take. If a friend always helps you but never help them, that's not friendship, that's using. If you receive value from someone and never give back, the relationship becomes unbalanced. Same with spiritual relationships. When you work with guides, ancestors, or divine council members, they give you guidance, protection, wisdom, and healing. What do you give in return? This isn't about them needing anything from you. They're not physical. They don't need food or objects. It's about honoring the relationship, energetic exchange, and strengthening connection. Think of offerings as thank you gifts, showing appreciation, invitation, welcoming them into relationship, and energetic fuel. As we talked about, it can include many things: flowers, water, herbs, incense, candles, food, drink, even just simply saying thank you. We even talked about how you share what you've learned. There's so many different ways to say thank you in return. So when we're offering a blood offering, you're offering direct connection to your essence, consent, and commitment. You can't offer blood casually. It requires intentional choice. This is the most sacred part of your physical being. Let's be clear. Blood magic does not equal harming others. The church conflated sacrificing animals or humans, actual harm, killing, and violence, with offering your own blood consensually, pricking your finger, a few drops, given willingly. These are not the same thing. Offering a few drops of your blood to a deity or ancestor is not harmful. You're not hurting anyone. It's consensual because you chose to give it. And it's minimal. We're talking drops, not cups. And it's sacred. It's honoring the being with your life force. Sacrificing someone else, human or animal, against their will is harmful. It causes suffering and death. It's non-consensual, and it's taking what wasn't freely given. It's excessive because it's death versus drops. And it's parasitic. It's using death energy to feed dark forces. Do not conflate these. We're talking about the first sacred consensual blood offerings from yourself. When you prick your finger and offer blood, you're choosing to do this. That choice carries weight. Voluntary offering equals powerful magic. When a being receives your blood offering, they receive your essence, not just a symbolic gesture. The connections deepen immediately. Your prayers, requests, or gratitude carries more power because it's sealed in blood. If you choose to work with blood, and this is your choice, not a requirement, of course, as always, protect first. Before even picking up your lancet, seal your biofield, call in your protection, state clearly who the blood is for. Clean your tools that you're going to use to get the blood, obviously. Like I said, you need drops, not a wound. It's not self-harming, it's sacred offering. A lot of times, really, you only even need 1 drop. That's it. So prick your finger, let it fall onto or whatever you're working with. As it falls, speak your intention, then seal the wound. Bandage, thank your body for the offering afterwards, and dispose of it or preserve it depending on what you're doing. Never just throw the blood in the trash. It's sacred. Treat it accordingly. Use blood offerings for major commitments, like dedicating yourself to a path, a deity, or a purpose. Sealing protection, blood-charged anointing oil for biofield sealing. Ancestral work, honoring your bloodline, asking for deep ancestral support. Serious petitions, when you need powerful intervention. Initiations, marking a threshold, a crossing, a transformation. Don't use blood for trivial requests, testing, let's see if this works, and when you're not certain this is the right action. Blood is sacred, treat it that way. Priestess and priests and mystics have used it in anointing oil for millennia. The church forbade it because it gives you power. There's no middleman needed, like I said. Blood magic is not evil. Intention determines morality. Let's address the satanic accusation. Blood magic is a tool, like a knife. A knife can cut vegetables, which is neutral and good. It can perform surgery, which is healing, and it can harm someone, which is evil. The knife isn't evil. The intention and action determine morality. Same with blood. Your blood, your choice, your intention. If you're using it for protection, connection, and sacred purpose, it's not evil. The church just wants you to think it is so you won't access your own power. There's also biblical blood magic. Yes, it's in there. Ironically, the Bible is full of blood magic. There's the Passover in Exodus 12, where Israelites painted lamb's blood on doorposts. This protected them from the angel of death. That's literal blood magic for protection. The covenant with Abraham in Genesis 15. Blood sacrifice to seal the covenant with God. Blood sealing sacred agreement. Jesus' Last Supper in Matthew 26. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Communion equals symbolic consumption of blood. Blood is sacred, transformative substance. In Hebrews 9:22, without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Blood is required for spiritual cleansing. The Bible acknowledges blood is sacred and powerful. They just don't want you using that power. They want you to depend on Jesus' blood, the church's sacraments, the priest's intercession. But your blood is sacred too. You can work with it directly. And if you're not ready for yours, there's some alternatives. Blood offerings are not required to do spirit work. If you're not called to do this or not ready, you can use any of the other offerings we talked about: flowers, water, incense, or gratitude, or service. Or you can use other things like hair or nails. Those also carry DNA, or even saliva. Only do blood work if you feel called to it. Not forced, not should do it, called. And you understand what you're doing. You're educated and intentional. You're ready for the intensity. Blood magic is powerful. It will accelerate things. Trust your knowing. We've covered a lot today. Communicating with the dead, working with guides, the divine counsel, protection, and sacred offerings. But before we close, I need to address something critical. The difference between communion and dependence. Because here's the trap. You can escape the church's control only to fall into different kind of dependence. On your guides, your ancestors, or your spirit communication itself. That's not freedom. That's just a different cage. The goal isn't to replace the church with spirit guides. The goal is sovereignty, where you walk in a relationship with the divine, not subordination to it. Dependence looks like you can't make decisions without consulting your guides first. I need to ask my guides before I choose what to eat for lunch. Every tiny decision required spiritual approval. You've abdicated your own authority. Or obsessive contact, trying to channel 24/7. You can't function without constant spirit communication. Spirit work becomes addiction, not practice. Or identity based on being special. I'm a channel, I'm psychic, the guides chose me. This is ego inflation, spiritual superiority. Your worth is tied to your abilities, not your inherent being. You ignore physical reality. The guide said I don't need to pay rent, the universe will provide. This is neglecting your body, relationships, and responsibilities. It's using spirituality to escape embodied life, or blaming guides for your choices. The guides told me to do this. When it goes wrong, you avoid accountability, giving away your power and responsibility. You have a fear of being without them. You panic if you can't hear your guides clearly. You feel abandoned if they're quiet. You can't trust yourself, only them. This is dependence. You've traded church for the guides. Same pattern, different authority figure. Communion looks like guides enhancing your decision making. They don't replace it. You ask for perspective, wisdom, and insight, but you still choose, you still discern. You're the sovereign authority in your life. It's regular but not obsessive contact, daily check-ins or as needed. Your spirit work is part of life, not all of your life. There's a balance between spiritual and physical. Your identity is rooted in your inherent worth. I'm a sovereign being who happens to communicate with guides. There's humility. Everyone has access to the divine. You're not special. And your abilities are gifts, not your identity. You honor physical reality. Guides offer wisdom, but you handle practical life. You pay bills, care for your body, and maintain relationships. Spirituality supports embodied life. It doesn't replace it. You're taking responsibility for your choices. I received guidance, I chose this action, I own the outcome. Accountability even when guided by spirits. You're the one living your life. Guides are advisors, not decision makers. You trust in yourself and guides. When guides are quiet, you trust your own knowing. When you can't hear clearly, you move forward anyways. You're whole with or without their input. This is communion, walking alongside the divine, not subordinate to it. You are sovereign, even with guides. Sovereignty equals you are the final authority. Even when working with archangels, deities, ascended masters, and ancestors, you are still sovereign. You can say no to guidance. You can question what you receive. You can choose differently. You can release guides who no longer serve. The divine beings want you to be sovereign. They're not here to control you. They're here to empower you. Here's how you balance that. You receive wisdom while maintaining authority. Example, a guide suggests quit your job and start the business. The dependent's response says, okay, and quits immediately without thought. The sovereign response is, let me sit with this. Does this feel true? What's the practical timeline? Do I have savings? What does my gut say? Considers guidance, checks with self, and makes an informed choice. Guides offer perspective. Your soul knows the path. If guidance conflicts with your deep knowing, trust yourself first. What if guides go quiet? Sometimes guides step back. They go silent. This can happen when you're meant to trust yourself. They're quiet, so you learn to make decisions without them, and you're building your sovereign muscle. Silence is the teaching, or you're integrating previous lessons. They gave guidance, now you need space to apply it. Integration requires silence. Quiet time is processing time, or different guides are stepping forward. One guide's teaching is complete. A new guide is arriving, but you haven't met them yet. This transition period feels like silence, or you're in a test. Will you panic without them or trust yourself? Silence reveals dependency versus sovereignty. How you handle it shows where you are. If guides go quiet, the dependent's response is panic. You feel abandoned. You try desperately to force contact. You feel lost, unable to function. A sovereign response is, okay, they're quiet. That's fine. You trust your own inner knowing to guide you, and you continue living, deciding, and functioning. And you know they'll return when it's time, or new guides will arrive. Guides going quiet isn't abandonment, it's trust. They trust you can handle life without constant input. Can you trust yourself? There's also avoiding spiritual bypassing. One form of dependence is using spiritual work to avoid embodied life. Spiritual bypassing looks like, I don't need to deal with my trauma, I'll just raise my vibration. Money doesn't matter, I'm too spiritual for that. I don't need therapy, my guides will heal me. Physical health isn't important, I'm focused on the spiritual. This is escape, not transcendence. True spirituality includes healing trauma. It honors practical needs. It integrates guidance with professional help. And it cares for the body. You are a soul in a body. Spirituality without embodiment is disassociation. Communion with guides supports your embodied life. It doesn't replace it. You don't need guides to be whole. Here's the truth they don't tell you. You are already whole. Guides don't complete you. They reflect your wholeness back to you. You don't need them to be worthy, access the divine, make good decisions, live a meaningful life. Guides are allies walking alongside you. They're teachers and friends, but you are the hero of your story, not them. The goal is walking alongside the divine. The healthiest relationship with guides is partnership, you and them working together, not you above them with arrogance or them above you, dependence, but side-by-side communion. You bring embodied experience, free will, human perspective, and your unique path. They bring non-physical perspective, wisdom from other realms, guidance from a broader view, and their unique gifts. Together you make better decisions. You live a more aligned life. You grow faster. You remain sovereign. The church wanted you dependent on them. Don't trade that for dependence on guides. The goal of all this, necromancy, spirit communication, divine counsel work, is sovereignty, direct access, personal authority, walking your path with divine support, not divine control. Guides are beautiful. Ancestors are powerful. The divine counsel is real and accessible. But you, sovereign, embodied, free-willed you, are the one living this life. Walk with the divine. Don't bow to it. This work makes you large, sovereign, and free. Speaking with the other side is your birthright. Your grandmother didn't stop existing when she died. She just changed form. Your ancestors aren't sleeping in graves. They're aware, present, and often trying to reach you. Spirit guides aren't fairy tales. They're real beings who've been with you your whole life, waiting for you to acknowledge them. The divine counsel wasn't erased. They were just hidden from you, but they're still here, still accessible, still willing to work with humanity. All of this, the dead, the guides, the divine, is available to you right now. No permission needed, but with power comes responsibility. This isn't a game. This isn't a trend. This is real spiritual work with real consequences. Do it with intention. Do it with respect. Do it with clear boundaries, and you'll be fine. What happens next is up to you. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you reach out to your deceased grandmother you've been missing? Will you call on Archangel Michael for protection as you do deeper work? Will you create an altar and start building a relationship with your guides? Will you seal your biofield and reclaim your sovereign power? Will you offer your first offering of flowers or maybe even blood? Or will you let fear keep you small? Will you let the church's lies continue to control you, even now that you know they're lies? The choice is yours. But I'll tell you this, the dead are waiting, the guides are ready, the divine counsel is accessible, and you, sovereign, powerful, free you, are capable of this work. A final reminder, if you try this and it feels overwhelming, you can stop at any time. You can set boundaries even with guides. You can ask for help from me, from others doing this work, or from your guides themselves. If you try this and nothing happens, keep practicing. Communication across the veil is a skill that develops over time. Practice makes perfect. Check your expectations. It might not look or feel like what you think it should. Trust what comes, even if it's subtle, a feeling, a knowing, or a sense of presence. There's no right way to do this. It's just your way. Trust yourself, trust the process, trust the beings who show up to help. And remember, the church lied. The dead aren't silent, you're not powerless, and you were never meant to walk the path alone. Next week, we're going even deeper. In episode 16, you are what you think, the science of consciousness creating matter. Until then, talk to your dead, work with your guides, reclaim what was forbidden, and walk in your power. I'll see you at the threshold. Until next time, may your path be aligned, your gnosis be clear, and the veil be ever thin. Our journey is not over yet. Thanks for all the love and support. Much love and positive vibes, you beautiful souls.